Jon, I guess I'll start off with one of the big pieces of news is Governor Abbott lifting the mask mandate as of this coming Wednesday, and also saying any business and all businesses can open up to 100% capacity. Does that change anything about your preparation for the upcoming season?
It will. It's not in the last 24 hours. I think that was just the lead domino. And then, we got to now figure out, what is UIL going to say? What is TEA going to say? And then what is our own local school district going to say in terms of, okay, how do we go forward? How do we progress? Because the reality is COVID is still out there. And, for our athletes right now, we still got to be careful because, if somebody comes down with COVID, then, they're still going to contact trace, and you could lose games or lose more than that. And so right now we still just got to be careful and be vigilant about it. But it's nice to have that lead domino start going, and hopefully, this means that we will get back to a sense of normal at some point. But sounds like the vaccine stuff is happening well from all the things that I read. But, I think this is still kind of early stages, honestly.
Is there one thing that for certain will come out of this whole COVID pandemic as it pertains to your football program? Something that's now built in that you think will be there forever going forward?
Yeah, I think we found better ways of doing things instead of being tied to our desks and tied to the building. Like there's other ways to get things done and to communicate and to get information out there. I believe that in life, a lot of times people will tend to stay in their comfort zones until forced out of them. And then when you get forced out of them, it's either sink or swim, really. And I think, the ones that have been more progressive and more, taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, have really, found ways to do what you do even better, and to disseminate information, to, take kids and move them through workouts and practices and meetings and things like that in a better way. And I think, there's certainly been things that are negatives, but, that's life.
That is life. Jon, where are you in your career? Like, you've had an interesting journey. Obviously, you had success as an NFL player. You've had success as a coach, but like you most recently, you go from Waxahachie to quarterback coach of the Cowboys to now head coach at Burleson. How's that journey been? For us on the outside looking in, we're like, wow, that's interesting. How would you describe it?
Yeah. How would I describe it? I think it's interesting to walk with Christ and to live your life like this. I'll never forget the day that my wife and I, back in 1999, on our knees after 40 days of fasting and praying and just committing to the Lord and saying, Lord, whatever you want to do with us, we'll do. And from that point, he allowed us to stay in the NFL for another, 12 years, 13 years, which I think I'm one of the more optimistic people that are out there. I didn't even see that. And so to play 16 years in the NFL was an incredible blessing. And then from then, it's been, okay, Lord, where do you want us to do your work? And we'll go wherever you want us to go. And our plan, our goal, my wife and I, our dream has always been to be at a high school and make an impact on young men and women and do it for 20 to 25, 30 years. And, to be one of those people that just leaves a legacy of helping young men and young women become, high integrity, high achieving young men and women in life. And we thought we had the blueprint for that. We started out doing it in high school, I went straight from retiring into coaching in the high school, and it was good. It just wasn't sustainable where I was at. back home in Tacoma, Washington, and then coming down to Texas and being in Waxahachie was, I mean, it was tremendous. The things that happened in the lives of those young men and the people in that community, it was tremendous. But, you know, sometimes just ideals don't match up. And you know, you get a couple of people that aren't on board with what you're doing, and you got to move on. And God moved us and moved us on. And we went to Arizona for a year, and we didn't know, why are we going here? No idea why the Lord took us there. But we went there, and my daughter found a great place where she's flourishing at Arizona State University. And I got reconnected with some friends and some families that we had lost connection with. And now we're doing life with them together. And then God brings us back to the Cowboys. And the NFL wasn't a dream of mine. And I don't know that it is a dream of mine. It's just, we're going to go wherever God takes us. We had opportunities after the Cowboys to stay in the NFL, and just it's got to be the right thing. My sons, you know, I just graduated my third child. He early enrolled at Florida. Now I have one that's going to be a freshman, and we like what we're doing. We want to find a place where we can stay and be in a place for a long time. But I don't know, whatever God's will is for our lives, we're going to do it. And now we're in Burleson, Texas. I get to work for Kevin Ozzie, and an incredible principal in Wayne Leak, and a supercharged superintendent in Brett Jimerson. And I'm having a great time. These kids are awesome down here. These families are awesome. And so, you know, is this the place that I get to stay for 20 years, 25 years and lead this, you know, super legacy and do what, you know, Buchanan's doing at Alito? I hope so. That's what I want to do. That's what our plan is. But Proverbs 16:9 says, to man belong the plans of the heart, but God directs the path. And that's really kind of what we're on. Wherever we go, we just want to have an impact.
Jon, that's powerful. You talk about leaving a legacy. You've mentioned that a couple times. And when I think of legacy, obviously I think of who's going to carry on your legacy. You just said you graduated your third son, and Jalen is going to the University of Florida. How special can his career be? Because it's already been stellar up to this point.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing for Jalen to remember. For my oldest son, Jordan, who's at Colorado State Pueblo, started out at TCU and had some injury things that caused him to have to go down to the D2 level, and is doing really well and has the ability to play at the pro level. But it's just to understand, you know, man, you've already achieved a lot. Somewhere between 3 and 5% of high school athletes go on to play in college on any level. And less than 1% of people ever make it to the NFL, make it professionally. And so they've already achieved, you know, incredibly high. They both have the ability to play at the next level. Jalen being a freshman at Florida, you know, you're dealing with all the best in the country when you go in there, and you're on the low end of the totem pole again, and you're fourth string, and you're battling for reps. And, you know, like I tell them all the time, you know, now that they're in spring ball, is all you can control is what you can control. Just be your best with your reps, be ready to go. You never know when your opportunity is coming. That's how my career happened. And, but he's got every tool you could ask for. You know, he's 6'4", 6'5", 210, you know, runs a 4.6 something. He jumped 10 feet 3, 10 feet 4 in the broad jump. He's super strong. He can make every throw that presents itself on a football field. So, you know, it's all about what God wants to do with his life, though. And if God presents that opportunity, hopefully he'll be ready for it.
Jon, what advice would you give other players who are now graduating into coaching positions? You know, most recently, I think of Jason Witten. Yeah. Now I'm the head coach at Liberty Christian. And then you have George Teague, the head coach at John Paul II, fellow Cowboys alums, you know, who are now in the coaching ranks. So George is already on his way. You're on your way. What advice would you give to, let's say, Jason Witten, who's getting started?
Yeah, Jason came down the day after he was announced and hired there. He came down, and we had been talking all throughout the fall. You know, he had a lot of opportunities. Jason, he's always going to have opportunities. Just the person he is and the way he carries himself and what you get with that package with him and his wife, he's always going to have incredible opportunities. And so we had talked through it. And then, you know, with him taking that job, he came down the next day and we spent, you know, 3-4 hours together just talking about, okay, how does this high school thing, what, you know, what's important? And the thing about when you are, the thing that's interesting is such a paradigm shift for us that have spent time in the NFL is this is literally about the whole community. And it's not, you're not operating in a vacuum. It's not 50 to 60 people. It's hundreds of people and all the people that touch your program and the high school and you know, the male sports and the female sports and the you know, the fine arts department. And it's about everything. And you're making an impact on so many people by the way that you do your job. And so that's the first thing is you go from being a professional athlete, you're really, as a professional athlete, you're really, I've said it all the time, you've been afforded the ability to stay a child mentally, really, because really it's only about you. It really is. It's just handle your job, do your job. And when you're in the NFL and you're a professional athlete, they tell you how much you're going to weigh, where you need to be, when you need to be there, how you're going to do your job. Now you get out and I'll never forget my first year. I'm like, I never had trouble sleeping ever in my life. But within the first couple of weeks of taking that job that I took back at Lincoln High School, you know, I'm waking up in the middle of the night and I'm not troubled. I'm just thinking about these young men that I have a chance to, you know, really make an impact on. And they're just on your heart all the time. And you go from thinking about you and yourself to now hundreds of kids and families and where they're coming from. And man, COVID was tough. Yeah, well, I have 200 kids that I had to, you know, make sure, hey, coaches, let's make sure we check in with them. Where are they at? Where are their families at? Do they need help? How can we help them? How can we support them? And so those things are, it's a mindset. It's a paradigm shift that you have to have. And Jason's ready for it. The other thing that I always try to tell guys that are especially going from, you know, professional or college down into high school is you think you have to dumb it way down. You really don't. You really don't. These kids have an incredible ability to learn and they want to learn. Now you do need to take something complex and make it simple to them, but it's an incredible opportunity and the amount of reward that you get when you go home and lay your head down on the pillow at night and know that, man, this kid's life was better today because we were in it, it's priceless. And that's why my whole family's involved in it, is because it's a ministry to us.
Jon, I guess this is a complex question, but why have guys like you and you know, other guys been able to succeed in post NFL life and some guys just can't? I know that's a loaded question, but if you had to, if you thought about like one common theme, what is it?
You know, that's an interesting question. The biggest thing is identity. For many guys that make it to the NFL, that's been who they are since, you know, they were 8, 9, 10 years old. They're the best. That's, you know, that's where they get, you know, people flock to them because of how well they do whatever that craft is. And you know, for me, I mean, number one, I wasn't that kid. You know, I wasn't the highly recruited kid. I didn't get a scholarship, all that stuff. But when Christ intersected my life in October of 1993 and, you know, rocked my world and I gave up control of my life to him, is when everything changed for me. And my identity is now wrapped up solely in him and what he did on the cross and in that grave and has done in my life since then. And so, while I love the NFL, and it was an incredible blessing to me and my family in so many ways, I knew all along that was what I was doing at the time, but that wasn't my calling. My calling has always been to impact those that God gives me a chance to be in their circle of influence. And so for me, while I was in the NFL, it was the same. And now while I'm coaching high school, it's the same. My mission hasn't changed. It's just where I do it has changed, and the amount of zeros on my paycheck has changed. That's really about it. And so I think one of the things that really helped me and my wife was that I retired from the NFL in 2011, and in December of 2011, and in February of 2012, I was coaching. And I went from having every meal made for me and having the best office in the world and, greatest locker room and weight room and all that stuff to now having to, my wife and I put in $150,000 weight room at this high school and having an office that is less, was smaller than my closet at home, and having to share lockers with other coaches. And it really takes you back to, look, you're just another person. That's what you are. But you're a person that carries around the presence of Christ in you. So you should have an impact on those around you.
One person you had an impact on as the Cowboys quarterback coach, I'm sure, is Dak, and he had an impact on you. What was that relationship like? What is that relationship like? What were your emotions when you saw how his season unfolded, the injury and the aftermath?
Yeah, a couple different layers there, but what is the relationship like to me is like one of my sons that's in college right now. It's that kind of relationship. Like, I think about them all the time, just like I think about my sons all the time, but I know they're off being men. Dak is off being a man, and he has a lot of people that pour into his life. He's he's so wise in how he, allows people into his circle, and ways that impacts him and ways that he impacts others. And so it's that kind of relationship, to be honest. It's just somebody that I'm thinking about, praying about all the time, and try to touch base with them. Either he with me or me, I with him. And I'm just there to, man, if you need me, let me know. Last offseason, COVID hit. Hey, Kit, let's get together and throw. Great. Where you want to go? Let's do it. We'll get together. We'll get some work in. Now, obviously, he's coming off the injury, and now it might just be scriptures that I pass along, or, talking trash to him a little bit or whatever. But how of watching that game, like I watch Dak like I would any one of my sons this year. And when he got hurt, I cried. I cried with him because I don't like seeing people that I love be hurt. And so whether it's physically or mentally or emotionally, and he was obviously both. And so, it was tough to see, but immediately in the back of my mind, I'm like, if I was next to Dak today, or when he came out of surgery, or the day after his surgery, and I was crying, he'd be like, why the heck are you crying? There's a story in this. I'm going to come back even better. And that's what it's been for him. In any interaction that I've had with him, he's excited. He's attacked the rehab process. And I do know that he's going to come back better.
Jon, you talked about one of the only differences between NFL life and high school coaching life are the zeros. Do we, as the media, focus too much on the zeros when it comes to, we're thinking about Dak's contract, and is he going to get a long-term deal? Are they going to franchise him again? What's going to happen? We don't know, but we want to know. Do we, as the media, place too much emphasis on that compared to how you guys as players think about it?
Yeah, I would think so. Players don't typically pay much attention to other people's money. We know that we're in a business, and we want to see every one of our teammates and every one of the guys in the league get as much money as they can, to be honest. And the money has gotten incredibly astronomical. To think that you're going to play and get a contract for 30, 35, $40 million. Like, you know, I remember coming in the league in 96 and 97 and going through those conversations. Nobody ever saw that happening, but it's what people want. You know, the money is driven by TV, and TV is driven by the people, and the people watch it. And so all of that money isn't, it's not really something that players focus on. It's how the game progresses. It's how the business progresses. And each of the players has a responsibility to help the game progress and help the business progress from a player side, as well as a business side. And so, you know, there's just not a lot of emphasis on it inside the locker room until a guy gets his contract, and then it's, you know, everybody's happy for him, and they ask him, when are we going to dinner?
When and where, right? When and where?
Yep.
Jon, and so you're telling me, like, in your experience, there's not a lot of jealousy amongst professional athletes? Because when Dak cashes in, whether it's franchise or long-term deal, I mean, it's more money than most of those guys in that locker room will ever make in their entire careers.
Right.
Is there jealousy? Have you ever, I mean, I would think you've seen some jealousy between players in your career.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you would. There's, you know, maybe it doesn't come off as jealousy. It's just it comes off more as disgruntled towards the fact that they don't feel like they're being paid what they're worth. But you know, the business is the business. You know, it is what it is, and the money has really kind of been apportioned the way it's going to get apportioned. You know, from quarterbacks to rush ends to, you know, receivers and middle linebackers and corners. You know, those are the places you're going to spend a lot of your money right now, and that's part of the business, and it'll ebb and flow. It'll come back the other way, and, you know, do other things, but that's just part of it. I wouldn't call it jealousy. I think I'd call it just, you know, guys maybe go, man, maybe I shouldn't have signed the contract I signed when I signed it. And I think, you know, that's what a lot of players are trying to figure out is, where is the market going? Where is, you know, it's just like anything. It's a stock market. It's like anything. Like, if we all knew, then it would be easy, but we don't.
Yep. A couple last questions, Jon. What do you see in the immediate future for your Burleson squad?
Yeah, I'm excited about our players. Again, I got hired last March 9th, got announced, and, you know, as we know, COVID shut everything down on March 12th. And so I didn't get to do an off season with our players. And I'm sitting here watching our players just grind in the weight room, grind on the grass, grind in the classroom, and watching their grades, you know, go up, watching their character go up, and then watching their you know, their lean muscle mass grow and their strength go up on the bench. So really excited about that. But yeah, that's my favorite time of year, off season. This is because I think this is when you make your program. Now we're gonna be young, but young and talented. You know, we lost 4/5 of our offensive line. We lost our quarterback. We're losing our runner. You know, we're losing a couple of key pieces on defense, but we're going to be young and talented, and you know, guys that now understand the culture that we're trying to produce as a program. So the great thing for us is the standard is in our district. We get to look at Alito every year, and that's the standard. And as I keep on telling my staff and our players, they built that over time. In 1993, they weren't, you know, 10-time defending state champions immediately. It takes time to build that, and it takes a community buy-in, which I think we're getting, especially from our administration. And unfortunately, we do have to fight with the other school across town for you know, attention and resources and athletes and all that. But it's a good thing. It's healthy for us. And so I'm excited. I'm excited about where we can go. I think we're going to coach them up like crazy, and I think the kids are willing to be coached. And so I think that gives you a chance to collapse time in your program and hopefully make a nice jump this year. We had a chance to be in the playoffs this year. Kind of some COVID rules and the way we set our league up, which we knew ahead of time. We didn't get a chance to be in, and that was unfortunate. But we didn't handle the things that we could control the best that we could.
And lastly, Jon, you talked about God touching you, your wife, and your family, and guiding you guys on this amazing journey. But the journey keeps bringing you back to North Texas. So what is it, if you could sum it up, that's so special about the Dallas-Fort Worth, North Texas area that has made it such a home for your family?
That's a good question. When I got traded here from Detroit, we were 2 years into planning, building a house, which we thought would be our forever house back in Washington State, where we're from. We had been, we had bought this property, and we were planning on, we were going through the plans, and we were picking out, all the interiors and all that stuff. And we were going through that process. And we had actually poured the foundation and starting to build. And I get traded to Dallas, and within 24 hours of being here, I had never been down this way. And within 24 hours of being here, I'm like, I'm ready to, forget that project, and let's just drop roots here. I love it here. Love Texas. Love the way that people do life here. For me, the biggest thing is the opportunities that I think it affords people living here, especially when you're raising kids. It's like I said, whatever they want to do, they can do it here full time. and they're going to see the best in the business at it, no matter what it is they want to do. The other thing for me is from the time that we got saved in October of 1993, my wife and I, and we got married in August of 94. We've been following Pastor Tony Evans. Back then it was on cassette tapes, and now it's in person, at his church and at Oak Cliff Bible Fellowship, and having a chance to be connected to that. And so I'm thankful that the Lord continues to bring us back here. We love Texas. We love the people here. We love the lifestyle here, and the ideals that Texas is about. And so, and then on top of that, if you're going to coach high school football, there's no better place in the country to do it than here. And a chance to go out every Friday and really see the best in the country play this game and coach this game. And so I have a ton of respect for Texas high school football coaches and the way that they do their business. And so it just makes it fun. It's a great ministry for us, and it's a great place to do it. We like the weather most of the time. So it's good. And so we'll see what the Lord does, though. But, as soon as I think I know what he's about to do, then he, changes directions on us, and we have fun doing whatever that is too.